Project Sapient is a podcast meant to engage our brothers and sisters in the law enforcement and military communities in conversations that we all know we need to have. All opinions you'll hear are our own, are protected by our First Amendment of the United States Constitution, and in no way reflect or are meant to reflect the opinion of any specific agency, officer, or service member. Some opinions may be controversial. Listener discretion is advised. Enjoy. Ayman.
Hello.
What's up?
Yo, yo, yo.
There we are on video.
Holy shit. Hey.
We're figuring this shit out.
Yeah, we are. You know, I mentored Chris Nolan on the ways of...
You mentored
video,
him?
Yes, on the way of video recording and directing of movies.
Guys, what's up? Project Sapient. We're loving this. I'm loving this podcast, man.
Yeah.
We have thousands of listeners all over the world. We have our supporters, Gym Junkies, liveboston617.org, vectorshields.com, WellnessForWarriors.live, Havok Journal.
Yes.
And today we have an awesome guest.
We do.
His name is Fred Leland.
Yes.
Anybody that's been through a Massachusetts Police Academy or in service in the last, 10 years has probably been taught by Fred, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's a legend. Fred, we're going to get you on. Are you there?
Yes, I'm right here, guys.
There he is.
I just had to calm myself down after that great intro music. Get me fired up with headbanging stuff. I love it.
That's not even the heavy stuff. Ayman and I talked about it. We're
yeah.
like, we got to go a little lighter on this shit. So
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you got to remember, I'm creeping up there. I'm getting up there now. You know, so that's heavy duty to me.
Are you okay?
Yeah. Well, just to neutralize it, I actually have a in my left hand. I actually have a nice little small, couple of fingers worth of plum brandy that I'm sipping on while I talk to you guys.
All right. So
why
aren't you sharing? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
You know what, man? I can't. There's certain things in this life you just don't.
You
share.
just can't share. That's right. Okay. I got it. So Fred, you've written. Yeah, go on.
Go ahead. I just want you to know before you get rolling, you guys inspired this with that whole night you guys had there with the bourbon night.
So you're blaming us.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, it's your fault.
Yes, the episode where we had the horse whiskey.
Yeah, exactly. So you can't blame me. I figured, hey, this is the kind of podcast I want to be on. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
We've been hearing a lot of that lately.
Yeah,
People are like, hey, you're gonna bring booze if we come on? Okay.
Oh,
no problem.
God. Yeah, I keep messing up my words now. I'm like, I'll slow down.
Oh my God, I'm telling you, it's the way to do it. But anyway,
awesome.
All right, I'm ready for you.
So Fred, you've written a book. You also have a website, lesc.net. It's lawenforcementsecurityconsultants.net. We're going to be talking to you about leadership in one of Ayman's articles. Let's see if we can just kind of show it. Are you a boss or a leader? And it was on Havok Journal. Let's see here. Where are we? There we are. I'm still trying to figure this video shit out. So you want Ayman to talk about your article for a couple of minutes, and then we'll bring in Fred, or what are you thinking?
So kind of, so I wrote this article June 8, looks like, June of 2020. And it was, there was a culmination of a lot of things. Usually when I write, it's usually because something's fucked up, or I'm just thinking out loud about leadership at that time, and I still think about leadership even through today. And we go to many seminars, speakers, classes concerning leadership, how to lead, how to supervise. There's a ton of books out there about leadership. People pay hundreds of dollars to listen to somebody tell them how to lead. And I mean, I'm not a supervisor at work, but I'm going to provide what I'm trying to do today is provide a lens into the difference between bosses and leaders, right? I hate like a supervisor to be referred to as a boss.
You hate bosses is what you're saying.
Pretty much. I have a very,
so
very
you're getting
strong
fired
disdain.
tomorrow.
Yeah. so it's more about, you know, they get into like, you know, all this management stuff and scheduling and, you know, policy, procedure, and I get all that.
So Fred, are you listening to all of this?
Because
Fred was a lieutenant for like 30 years, right?
That's why he's retired now, so I can say whatever I want.
Yeah. I think the good thing is a good leader will understand that you should be able to say anything even while you're working when you want.
Yeah,
that's the key.
Exactly.
Right?
And exactly. I mean, the biggest thing is we all know is, you know, I mean, Freddie, you were in the Marine Corps, correct?
Yes.
Okay. What were the years you were in?
I was in from 80 to 86. I was the last of the 3-year active duty stints. I was in from 80 to 83 full-time active, and then the last 3 years was reserves.
I was born in 81.
And I was, see what I mean?
Yeah.
Wow, man. God bless you.
Yeah, so that was a long time ago. I was I was in Lebanon, because Ayman, I know that's where you're from.
Yep.
And I was over there in the early, in 1982 to 83, September 82 to February, February, I believe it was 83.
Yeah.
With 3-8. And it was actually the guys that 2-8 that was when the bombing took place that relieved us back then. So
yeah, I know you talk about that a lot. You know, that time frame when you were in Lebanon. Bad time for all. I was
a young kid, and I learned a ton about this topic, leadership, and what good leaders are versus well, for lack of a better word, poor leaders are.
Yeah.
Or like we're using the term leader versus boss.
Yes.
Management versus leaders, whatever we want to call it. I mean, obviously there's dichotomies in it all.
Yes.
There's extremes, and sometimes a good leader has to be a hardcore.
Yeah.
You can't get walked over by your subordinates, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Sometimes you gotta take care of your people, which is the number one rule. I just had this conversation the other day. And somebody said, I thought the mission was number one. I go, your mission is one. I said, is big. I said, but if you don't take care of your people, your mission is going to be very difficult to accomplish.
Oh my God.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because obviously mission, your objective, your mission and intent is key.
Oh yeah.
But a lot of people think that if they hone in on the mission, these boss types or soul management types, they get so wrapped up in the minutia of process.
Yes.
That they micromanage people to death. And that's what we're really talking about. We understand.
Exactly. That's exactly what I go into with, you know, like my definition of boss is someone in a leadership position, such as in policing or as shift supervisor, manager, or vice president, police leader, military. A boss, someone is who demands. One who rules with an authoritarian hand, one who repeatedly reminds their staff of their rank. We've dealt with all those types of bosses. You know?
So you're talking theory. You know what you're talking about in the books?
Yep.
Right? Theory X versus Theory Y.
Yep.
Right?
Right.
In those styles. Theory X, I call him the, let's be frank, the asshole leader.
Yeah.
And then Theory Y is the guy who he's diplomatic. He works with his guys. He's concerned about them. He's trying to get opinions about things when he can. Now, the key is adaptability or adaptive leadership. But what we're calling today mission command in the military, and it's a great term, is to build the relationship and to build the leaders so they understand the dichotomies of leadership, so that they actually understand how it works and how it's important to have a mission and intent, and then allow your front line to do their job.
Absolutely.
Right? Train them, trust them, let them do their jobs is what I've said for years.
Yeah.
But we struggle with it in policing because we've been taught the centralized approach, the Theory X approach.
Yeah.
And I say taught it. I don't mean taught it in the sense of going to a class or a school to learn it, although we have some of those. We don't have many. We can talk about those later. A lot of police training or a lot of police education on leadership comes from experience, watching fellow leaders.
Yeah.
And sadly, and don't get me wrong, there's good leaders in policing, but a lot of leaders really don't understand it. They're that boss type. You do what I tell you. This is my rank. I've had it said to me.
Yeah.
This is why you do it.
Yep.
See these 3 stripes?
Yep.
That's why you're doing it.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
See this brass?
Yeah.
That's why you're doing it. There's no influence. You know, if like Edwards Deming said, and I love this quote, on leadership. He says that the aim of leadership is not merely to find in record failures in men, but to remove the causes of failure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And what we don't recognize all too often in policing is sometimes the cause of failure in policing is we have dysfunctional organizations. We got risk-averse cultures. We got leaders who are so on top of their guys about everything.
Oh my God! Yeah.
They're micromanaging.
Yeah, they're micromanagers to the point that guys are afraid to make decisions.
Right? Exactly.
And it's unfortunate that I see it in so many police departments out there that you know, we go to in-service, we do these joint trainings, stuff like that, and you hear from the guys and gals from other departments, and they say, you know, we can't breathe, we feel suffocated,
right?
Because we can't even make a decision out on the road without having a supervisor, you know, be there.
They don't want to make a decision anymore. It's sometimes it's not you're even scared to make a decision. It's like, you know what? If you want to be a hard L, fuck you. I'm not making the decision.
Yeah.
And,
exactly.
and that's what it is. And then we lose it in the idea of the extremes. In other words, he's a Theory X guy. He's an asshole, right? And we use these words,
right?
Or the other extreme is he's too nice to his people. When the reality is there's pieces of all this that intermingle, right? That ebb and flow. Right. And if a good leader gets that, he knows, he trains, he develops his people, which I think the number one responsibility for any leader, right, especially in our world where learning's key, is to develop your people. It's the biggest thing.
100%.
Right?
That's something I learned in the military as an NCO. It was about developing my guys to be the best soldiers that they can be.
But what about allowing them to develop?
Absolutely.
And that's even, you know what, Pete, that's even better.
It's kind of like parenting, right? Like you can't helicopter over your kids too much. You have to allow them to develop.
Teach them how to teach themselves.
Yes.
Give them rope.
Yes.
Give them rope. Pull them back when you have to, but let them do their jobs.
Right.
Teach them, train them, develop them. Right. I say it like this, and I'll say it again 1,000 times. Train them. I mean, develop them. I mean, learning should be a piece of every day. Every shift we should be learning.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Every day we should be learning and talking about the lessons.
Yep.
That's something missing in our profession. You guys have been around long enough. All too often we go and we handle a dynamic encounter, a crisis situation. And it's a walking, talking Charlie Foxtrot.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
A mess.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But we get the guy. We solve the problem. We come back and we don't talk about any of the problems, any of the mistakes, any of the dangerous stuff that went down.
That's dangerous.
And that's dangerous. We don't do critiques. For some reason, critiques, which is a leadership thing, a big part of it is to critique in a way of not punishment, not to punish, but in an after-action review format. That's a big piece. Feedback up and down the chain is huge.
That's one thing me and Pete always talk about is doing the AAR after a call. You know, you go to a call, even a simple traffic stop with your partner, right? Even AAR yourself. Right after the car stop, what did I do wrong? What did I do right? Oh, I shouldn't have done this. You know, AR yourself every single time, and it's up.
And how can we improve?
Yeah,
it's simple. It makes us better. It teaches us our strengths, our weaknesses, where we need to build on, and it should be automatic. It should be everything we do. It should be automatic, and it doesn't take long. It doesn't have to be a meeting let's meet at 1,500 hours and have a 3-hour meeting. We can do it right on the fly.
Yeah,
right. And we don't take advantage of it. It's like training. There's a lot of lessons that come from an after-action review of a real event is more powerful than going to some week-long training somewhere. I'm a firm believer.
Oh my God, yeah. Especially it's fresh in your mind. You just did it. You just dealt with it. Yeah, absolutely. The
day-to-day stuff we do, we can learn from. I'm not knocking formal training. We need it. But at the same time, what all too often happens when it comes to leadership, right, or management or boss versus the leader, the boss says, well, I sent you to that school 10 years ago.
Yeah.
What do you mean you don't know what to do? Well, the skills are perishable.
Right.
Well, exactly.
A leader recognizes, okay, I sent these guys to this particular school, whatever it may be. The skills are perishable. How do I keep these guys sharp until they get to go to another school? Because we know money and budgets and all that stuff's tight. So you can take advantage of a good leader, a good sergeant, right? A good lieutenant, a good chief. We'll sit down with his people and develop them on the day-to-day operations, if that's your thing, the logistics, if it's your thing, the technology, if that's your thing. You're teaching guys and the tactics and the strategies that work on the street.
Fred, let me interject for a second here. One of the things that I had a problem with, and I still have a problem with sometimes, is that sometimes the upper leadership, we're talking about like the upper leadership, like, 2 bars and up. They make decisions that aren't based on reality for training, meaning they're going to turn around. They haven't been on the street for 20 years. And they're going to say, okay, we're going to send our guys to this training. I guess what I'm trying to say is they're not going back down to the troops and saying, what kind of training do you guys want?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's the illustration again of what the article's about. A boss manages. Yeah. We need this. Let's give it to them. Whether they need it or not, we think they do, give it to them.
Yep.
A leader works his way down the chain. Matter of fact, a leader doesn't shove it down to the bottom. A leader looks to the bottom.
Yes.
And what you want bottoms up leadership.
Yes.
Style. In other words, what do you guys think you need?
Yes.
What do you think you need?
That's
right? Let
100%.
me know, and then we'll talk about it. We'll go from there.
Yes.
There's the difference. So a management says, I have to plug this in due to, I don't know, whatever it is, liability, accreditation, certification, whatever it is, right? I got to plug this in, so let's just send these guys. It makes no sense. Nobody's been told, nobody's explained anything about why or asked if they think we need it, right?
Yeah.
And it creates a lot of problems on the front line, which is ultimately with, the leadership's about decision making.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what it really what's about, what it comes down to.
Yep.
And so good leaders understand that the front line in police work makes the most important decisions out there. I've said this for years. I've gotten criticized for it by my bosses.
Yeah, yeah.
But the front line makes the most important decisions. They make the life and death choices, the decisions that are on the news.
Oh, yeah.
The decisions between life and death. The decisions that are going to be critiqued and criticized by the public or the media, or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
While us brass, we got our role, right? But it's usually more strategic, right? So there isn't a lot of life-threatening stuff in the role.
The front line has their pulse on everything going on.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Has their finger on the pulse of everything going on, I should say.
Exactly. And a good leader knows that. And a good leader doesn't only know it, he works to make sure that observation, orientation, decision, and action cycle, the Boyd cycle, that fluid cycle of decision making.
Right.
Right? How we learn on the fly. It's as fluid as it possibly can be. Right? So he's willing to teach them, train them, develop them, listen to them, listen to information come from the bottom up. This was messed up, Lieutenant, with no fear of, you can't talk to me. It's a lot of ego involved. In
I was just going to say,
right?
ego is a huge issue.
And we have an episode coming out on ego. We've actually pushed it because of how awesome some of our guests have been. But ego is one of the biggest issues, and it can be deadly.
Ego is the enemy, man. I'm taking that from Ryan Holiday's book, which is a fantastic book. That's the title of it. Ego is the enemy. Yeah. Right? If you haven't read that book, you got to read it. I think I might have sent that to you guys a little while back.
Yeah, you sent it to me and Pete. Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, guys, that book, you guys, spot on. This is a young kid. He does a ton of research on the Stoics, the ancient Marcus Aurelius and Seneca. And,
that's perfect.
All these Xenophon, all these ancient leaders. And he talks about this stuff. But the ego, and not only him, another great SEAL team, modern leader, right, who's actually a military leader, Jocko Willink. Right?
Yep.
Oh, my God. Every book that guy's written, right? The Dichotomy of Leadership, which is my favorite. He's also got one called Leadership Strategy and Tactics. And then he's got, what the hell's the third one? Extreme Ownership. All three of those was the leadership book.
The Extreme Ownership, the one that he did a keynote on it at MIT, I think.
Oh, he's around. He's
always
so
doing that
now. I can't keep track of him. He's all over the place. But he talks about ego. This is a brute. He's a built up. He's an Ayman.
Right.
He picks things up and puts them down. He's one of those guys.
Yeah.
Right? And he's strong, but he's also like Ayman. He's sharp. He's mentally sharp. He gets the game. Right.
Yes.
And he talks about, when you look at him, you think, he must be one of those ego-driven dudes. No, he talks about ego, frankly. He says you got to swallow it. You got to own your shit.
Yeah.
There's a certain level of ego that you need, right? You can't be a pushover. You have to have a certain level of ego. But Ayman and I talked about it in our ego article. Like, you can't let it control your life.
Yeah.
You can't let it control your actions.
You have to have confidence in your ability.
Of course.
I think how we look at the term, when we think ego, we're talking about the guy who's got an overblown ego. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Right. We need to have confidence, and we need to be able to know it and confidence in our abilities, and we have to be confident in our ability to do the job.
Yes.
And up to and including work towards persuasion. And yet, if we have no choice because of the individual we're dealing with, we have to be able to utilize force. We have to recognize these things.
Yes.
But if ego's driving every decision you make, you can see where things can escalate with a guy.
Oh, my God.
It's not going to end well.
Right?
No, it's not.
No, it's not going to end well.
Yeah.
And when I say ego, yes, there's a healthy part of it. We need it. But when it becomes unhealthy, it becomes dangerous.
It's dangerous.
So
right.
one of the best military leaders I've ever had was my battalion commander. And he was busy as hell. Our battalion covered a large AO in Iraq. We traveled far and wide, every unit under his command. Our furthest patrol was over 15 hours long drive. Actually, we were going from Tikrit to Mosul. It was a long ass drive, but the battalion commander, during our drives, he would actually mentor us and talk to us about different things. What's an OP and an ETC? Like he'll throw stuff at us right while we're driving,
like testing you,
not test, like teaching us,
keeping you sharp, keeping you going.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And not only that, keeps us, because it kept us awake, alert, because these long drives in the middle of the desert, 120 degrees, you get drowsy.
You got to get the mind into a certain place.
And he was the type that no matter what, day or night, sleep, no sleep, he was out there with us during the missions. It didn't matter to him. To him,
now
he would take
that.
Yeah.
Let's compare that to this. Look, we're being frank here to discuss issues. Yes, there are some good leaders out there in policing.
Yep.
Compare that to police leadership. Compare what that guy's done to police leadership.
Oh my God!
I'm going to give you my feeling of it, my experience, and my opinion.
Yep.
All right, from what I've seen, is most people in leadership positions, right, today in policing, they get their school and their training, and they share nothing with nobody. Right?
No. Yep.
They share nothing with nobody. I'll speak from personal experience myself. I was when I went up to the rank, sergeant and then lieutenant. Right? The sergeant, you went to the sergeant school. And I can talk about that later. Lieutenant initially went to no school, none, until I went in 2004. Went to the National Academy for 10 weeks. But I got promoted in 2001.
So when you got made from sergeant to lieutenant, you didn't go to any kind of training or anything?
No.
Wow.
No, nothing.
Wow.
No, you know what my training was? Hey, you know what my training was when I got lieutenant? Let's say I had to do grants, right? For example, there was a pile on my desk with a Post-it note that said, "These are yours." Right?
Are you serious?
I'm not. I'm dead serious, and I know that in some places it's different, but that was my situation. And a lot of guys I talked to, the same thing.
Yeah.
You go to become a lieutenant, and you get a pile of papers on your desk to say that is yours. I went to the boss and I said, "Hey, you think you can help me with these, so I get a better understanding of how to do them?" And he says, "Just read them. You'll figure it out."
Yeah.
That was my training.
We'll figure it out.
Right? Yeah, figure it out. So that's a problem with policing. If we don't talk about the realities, all right, and the truths behind it, and that those types of things go on, and then we want to talk about highly trained professionalism, all right, which boggles my mind sometimes. And I'm not saying that there aren't some progressive. I've been in seeing some progressive departments, but if I was going to put a number on them, 10%.
Oh, it's
so
small.
90%.
It's got to be small.
It's very small.
Right.
Yeah.
The vast majority of them, it's not to be insulting. If we don't own our shit, we don't get better. It's as simple as that.
That's exactly that's why Ayman and I are basically doing this show and doing Project Sapient and trying to do the trainings and all that. Like, we have to be upfront with these things. We can't keep putting them in the drawer and shutting the drawer and making believe the boogeyman's not going to come out.
Right. You got to make sure guys are developed. Now, most places develop people as they're on the job. But it's so foreign to policing that when I was trying to train guys, like how to book a prisoner, I got things like, because it was so foreign, right? I would hear, "Lieutenant, or Sarge, isn't that your job? Isn't that your job to book a prisoner?"
Yeah.
Right? And I go, my job is to get you, right, to do this, not just for me to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. If I ask you to do it, that means you do it.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
Yeah.
Right. Or to make a decision. If somebody calls the sergeant, I remember one scenario. I remember a million scenarios, loads of them, too many of them. But this one stuck out in my mind because I handled it very delicately. It was a guy had a car stop.
Yep.
He's on the radio. He's talking about the patrolman. He's because he's so risk averse. He's so used to calling the sergeant or somebody, right, to come give him an answer from where he had come from. He was a transfer in from another place. But anyway, he stops the car. He's got like a suspended license for OUI, unregistered, uninsured, right, and my motor vehicle stuff. But I'm thinking, okay, he's probably going to lock him up for that. So I start heading back to the station. He asked for me to come to the scene. So I said, all right, I must have something else.
As a patrol supervisor or as a lieutenant?
Yeah, as a patrol supervisor, right?
Okay.
So I swing up. Yeah, so I swing up to the scene, and he tells me exactly what I just told you. Nothing new, nothing different, nothing extraordinary.
Right. So you were going, okay, I'm a PS. I'm going to see whatever the hell else is going on that he hasn't said over the air or whatever.
He didn't want to say over the radio. He must have something unique.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I get there, and I pull up next to him, and he tells me nothing. I go, you got anything else to add to it? And he says, no. And I'm going to give you mine, and you don't have to follow me. Just listen to what I did. I just put my car in drive and drove away. Right? That's a true story, right? Because if you can't make that decision, right?
Yeah.
There was two pieces of this. If you can't make that decision, something's wrong.
Yeah.
So a long story short,
okay,
he brings the guy in. We booked this. I booked this prisoner. He's angry. He's pissed off at me. I go in and I talk to him, and he says to me, he goes, well, you're the sergeant. You get paid to make the decision. I go, I'm the sergeant. I get paid to make you make the decision.
Yeah, I get paid to supervise your decision, not make your decision for you.
I don't make it. That's a simple decision. What are you going to do if you got something complex? If you don't know what to do, call me every time.
Hold on, let me call my supervisor. Right.
Yeah. And you know what? After I get into it with him, I thought about it later, and I said, you know what the problem is? It's really not all his fault, right? Because the system's become so risk-averse.
Oh, my God,
with these boss-style bureaucratic leaders. Don't get me wrong. We need to be able to do that. You can't just be one without the other. A good leader has to know how to manage, too.
Yeah,
but a good manager has to know how to lead.
Oh, yeah, no.
It goes both ways.
Absolutely. I've seen police departments where they send supervisors to every call. Every call.
And that's just foolish.
Every car stop, every call. And if you're not at that call, you're going to get a call from the second floor, and they're going to yell at that supervisor, why aren't you there?
They haven't heard the exception principle. You have to develop your people, know who you can count on, know who you can trust, understand what's going on in your shift. Yeah. And you don't have to be at every call. That's a foolhardy liability, cover your ass, risk averse. Method of policing. It's as simple as that. I don't know how else to say it.
Well, it all goes back to also the check in the box type training that we talk about. Where you know what, he got that crisis intervention training back in 2004. He doesn't need to do it anymore. Now that's a check in the box. You don't develop it anymore. He got
it. He got it 8 years ago. We're good.
Yeah.
We're good.
You know what that does? What that does is it creates dysfunctional organization.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is it creates frontline cops who are afraid to make a decision, not because they're afraid because of the lack of courage, moral or physical.
Yeah.
They're afraid to make it because they're going to get their asses handed to them from internal stuff inside the organization. They don't feel safe,
and that's dangerous. That's where cops get killed. I mean, I've got brand new officers telling me that they don't want to make a decision without a supervisor because they'll get yelled at, or if they make an arrest, the supervisor will yell at them as if he's wasting the time or whatever, what have you, like stuff. And I tell these guys, I'm like, listen, ignore the fucking noise and do your job. I was like, you're not gonna. I was like, fuck whatever is going on, but
they freeze.
Yeah, but they freeze exactly.
That's exactly right.
We could look at this over a host of different things. It could be something minor, or it could be something major, like an active shooter in a decision to enter, because you're afraid that if I didn't follow the correct protocol, it creates this danger. Simon Sinek, who's written several great books on leadership, and he's not a cop or a military guy, but he teaches cops leadership and he teaches military guys leadership.
Yeah.
He wrote a book called Leaders Eat Last,
Yes.
which is about that selfless leadership style.
Yeah.
Right. And he says he talks about safety and danger, and he draws a circle. He says in this circle inside our organization, we need to be safe. He goes, that doesn't mean we get away with bad things. We can't be corrupt. No, you get dealt with. But if you're doing your job the right way, you're safe. Because as a police department, we get on the outside, we're dealing with dangerous stuff, crime, terrorism, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Right? Riots, crime, any other, the types of things that we deal with in police work.
Yes.
And he says, when people inside the organization have to manage dangers from inside the organization, the organization itself becomes less able, right, to face the dangers from outside.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
That internal
that's 100%
stress.
right. Yeah.
I use the new term, the term, which we've always tried to be fair and impartial and procedural, just policing.
Yeah.
It's always, I mean, don't get me wrong, we've had our assholes in our ranks here and there, but most of the guys are great guys.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And they try to do the right thing. And usually when we got bad cops, nobody dislikes bad cops more than good cops.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
And so we've gotten rid of those guys. But when you got good cops who are afraid to make decisions, right? Even life and death decisions, all right?
Yes.
Forget about the minor ones because of what's going on inside the place. Something's wrong. Something's dysfunctional in the organization.
Yeah.
And a lot of that comes from this idea of micromanaging, the boss style that we're using in this episode,
Yes.
right? Of leading, of the autocratic theory X way of doing business.
Yeah.
If I don't chew their ass, they don't do the job. They're not motivated. They give me the bite
exactly
in the ass.
it. You know, it's like morale will get beaten into you type mentality.
Right. And what it creates is this whole thing. Now, I'm lucky enough to be out here teaching still, even though I'm retired. I'm teaching still. I teach sergeant's leadership class for the MPTC.
Yeah.
I still teach in service. I still teach rookie cops.
Yep.
And it creates this mindset of, let me just follow the rules. That's it.
Yeah.
So in other words, what you get with a boss is the boss will say, well, they do what I tell them. And you know what, boss? That's only what they're going to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly what you tell them.
And
they're going to give you nothing more.
Yeah.
Right? They're going to give you nothing extra.
And they're going to rely on that. They're going to rely on it for every single decision.
Yep.
And if you're not right, and if you're not careful, guys, right, what happens is it overrides the culture. The whole culture in the organization becomes so risk averse from top down, bottom up, that everybody's just waiting to be told what to do, even when they know what to do.
Yep.
Right? And that's problematic. And that's not I don't blame the patrol cop for that.
No.
I blame the upper echelon for that.
That's
your job.
Yeah, that's the
your
thing.
job to drive
when the upper echelon is yelling at the patrol officer, new patrol officer, on why you making this car stop, or why you doing this, why you doing that. These whys aren't what patrol wants to hear all the time. You know, like I would say, there's always a time to supervise, especially on critical incidents. You know, where you got to set up a command post and all that stuff is way above the head of any patrol officer.
Right.
But you have to be able to trust your guys to make the simplest decisions, where you don't need a supervisor to lock somebody up because they had a suspended license. You know, like that's not needed.
Exactly.
You know, that's not needed.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing.
These small things, you got to let your guys make the call. Matter of fact, if you think about it this way, because you just said it perfectly. If I got to set up a command post, I really don't have time to worry about what you're doing on the tactical end of the game.
Yeah.
I have to have faith in your ability.
Yeah, exactly.
Do your thing.
Exactly.
Do your thing, so I can set up a command post in staging areas and get ambulances coming or whatever it is we need. Right?
Yeah.
I don't need to be. I shouldn't have to. If I'm a good leader, I've already prepped my guys. I like to put it this way: leadership isn't an event-driven thing. All of a sudden, the leader miraculously appears when shots are fired.
Yeah.
It's a day-to-day thing. You guys need to know what you're about. Do you trust me to do my job every day of the week? Every time they work, they need to know, do you trust in their ability? They need to know how you operate, the type of leader you are.
Fred, do you
if
remember?
They don't know it.
Do you remember right when the Boston Marathon bombing happened, the radio calls from that one police supervisor, I don't know what his rank was, but how he was calling everything.
Oh, yeah.
You know
mine?
Yeah.
The one, we can't mention my department, but he was. Yeah. So we're not going to mention names. Obviously, OPSEC, we're going to make sure that, but we knew him as a good leader like that.
Yeah.
The difference with him and the bad leaders was that he knew what each one of us was capable of.
Yeah.
So he knew that Pete was good for X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
He knew that Ayman was good for A, B, and C.
Yeah.
And even though he was calling the shots, he was letting us operate.
Yeah.
He's letting you operate. He's guiding you. He's facilitating it. He's not standing over the top of you, ordering you to do everything.
Facilitating. Exactly.
That's the best word right there. Yep.
That's the best one. And you know what they actually said in the critique of that incident, the AAR, one of them said, the reason that, especially in the initial bombing, they said the reason that the guys were so effective, right, is because there was really nobody there telling them what to do.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? They were doing what they knew they had to do. Now, a lot of guys will go, well, I've had it said to me when I tell this story. I said, well, that doesn't say much for you guys. I said, no, it says a lot. When good leaders understand that their guys know what to do and they don't have to tell them, pick them up by the heels, move your car over here, do this over there.
As much chaos as there was, it wasn't out of control chaos.
Yeah.
Right? Like
there was a semblance of control.
It was a controlled chaos.
Well, I think Freddie, what you call it, I think, is reshaping the chaos. I think that's it.
That's
what you always call it. You're reshaping the chaos.
And that's the key. Your guys know what to do. And then you can go like this. You can go, as the leader, you go, what do they need? What's the logistical piece of this? That's what a good leader does.
Yes.
A good leader starts to recognize, okay, these guys are good. They'll do what they're doing. They're getting these people rendering aid. They're getting to the hospitals. They're doing the stuff they need to do. They're searching for the other bad guys, explosives. They're on the roll.
Yeah.
Here's what I need to do. Boom, 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 boom. And you start laying it out. And now that whole piece works.
And I can't tell you how many times we would, and Ayman, you've probably in the same circumstance, right? How many times in an op or in a critical incident where you'd have two separate supervisors coming up and saying, okay, what do you need?
Yeah.
What can I get you? What do you, blah, 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 blah. What should we be doing? Not in a sense that he didn't know, but he knew that we had the tactical advantage. We knew everything going on, right? And then you'd have the other supervisor who would come in with a hard on and say, oh, no, what are you guys doing? And it's like, dude, you haven't been here in the last half hour.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Like that's one thing. Like I as a detective, when we go into a hot scene, into a crisis where let's say an act of a stabbing just happened and it's chaotic, right?
Yeah.
We show up and we're doing our thing. Crime scene's getting built. We're doing this, doing that, and then you get a patrol supervisor coming up to the detectives to tell them what to do. Hey, I need you guys to do this. This like no. Like, dude, we got this. You know, your patrol guys got their side too. Like, it's no knock on him. I'm not trying to disrespect that supervisor, but here's the thing: it's one of those things. Like in the military, know your lane.
Yes.
Poor leaders think they have to talk a lot.
Yeah.
Good leaders know they don't.
Yeah, that's actually so true.
Well, I thought about it that way. Like, if I don't have to do X, Y, and Z, if I know my guys are doing well, they're not dangerous, they have everything they need, they're not asking me for shit.
Yeah.
I'm going to them and they're saying, no, we're good.
Yeah.
You know,
why am I going to impose my own will on them?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
You know?
For what? If there's a legitimate reason to do it,
right.
I get it.
Yeah.
But if there's not, why? Because you know what it is? We get mad at the public for being the Hollywood effect.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yes.
Hollywood influence them.
Oh yeah.
Well, a lot of people, I hate to say it, in our profession, in leadership positions, that's where they get their education on leadership. They start patting in the tank, pointing his hand.
Yeah.
Hey, you go over here. You go over there. It doesn't work that way.
No.
The real world, you need to build your front line to a high level of professionalism so that they can have, in a crisis, they have decentralized control. In other words, they have decision making abilities right there. The lowest patrol cop can make a decision.
Well, exactly.
Leaders can have more centralized coordination of the response. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
So decentralized front line where they have to make decisions based on what they're seeing unfold, because it's an adaptive challenge.
Well, that's
right.
The thing.
We don't. A lot of times, right. So we don't even know what we got. We're trying to figure it out.
Yep.
Right. So how can you be shooting orders and we don't even know what we have yet? You know what I'm saying? So the bottom line is it's decentralized control on the front line. That's what you want to strive for. So
Yes.
that those guys can make those calls, and centralized coordination or logistics.
Yeah.
So you're in the command post. Your goal should be, whatever the guys need, you don't have to ask them what they need.
No.
Or you may if there's something you need, but you should be able to listen and hear what they need. I got bodies here. I got this there. I got injured here. You start adding up. I need ambulances. I need extra people. I need whatever it is. You add it up and you start coordinating a response.
Well, that's the thing. As the leader, you're listening to the radios. You're listening to what guys have and gals have, and they're all calling it in. Now you reshape that chaos and bring the resources that is needed. You're not over the air sucking up airtime where it's a critical incident. Your front lines need that airtime, not you.
They need it. Yes. They need it. You need to listen.
I'm sorry. Sometimes with a critical incident, I would hear even some patrolmen, but most of the time, a lot of the bosses that had no idea what was going on. And it was like, you thought to yourself, do they just want to hear themselves?
Yeah, probably.
Hey, I've seen it. I've seen it at parades and road races.
Oh my God.
Right? A 10K road race where there's a boss on the radio for a whole hour and 20 minutes while the race is on.
Telling stories.
Hey, they're coming down so-and-so street. They're coming down this street. They're coming down that. Block the intersection. You already gave a briefing at the beginning of the day.
Let it
what
flow.
they needed to do.
Let it flow.
Well, but because of the lack of understanding of what leadership is, a lot of these guys think it's about talking and telling people what to do.
It's the patent effect. They want to be the patent.
Yeah.
I used to get angry at these guys. I don't anymore because I recognize they think that's how it's supposed to be done because they haven't had the formal training. They haven't had or very few have had formal training, and very few have had good leaders. Sadly, right?
Yeah.
And you have to understand what it is. It's about building your guys. It's about building those relationships. It's about influencing others so that they're not afraid to go out and do the job.
That's the key right there.
That's the key right there. That's the key right there. Like in my department, the chief has me officer in charge of the plainclothes unit. I have a couple of guys that I work with a crime analyst, and we do all kinds of
your boss actually put you in charge of another human being?
Exactly.
Jesus
Isn't that
Christ.
scary right there?
Holy shit.
But here's the thing, to me, all I'm doing is I tell the guys, whatever you need, let me know. I'll put it in. I'll do what I can for you guys. And then when they're out there doing their work, their missions, their projects, whatever they got going on, I'm listening to the radio. I know what they're doing. I know what they're up to. And when they come back, I'm like, all right, what did you guys need? What did you figure out? I let them handle whatever they have in front of them.
You're letting them be police officers.
Exactly.
Holy shit.
Exactly. I'm not there yelling at them on why they locked somebody up. I'm not there yelling at them about, hey, why you pull that freaking car over? I needed you at point X, Y, and Z. Do you, like you said, you have to be able to trust you guys to do the jobs out there.
Why development of your people is so important. A good leader develops his people. He takes care of them. He knows them. He develops them.
Exactly.
Right? And that's constant. Like that commander you talked about. He's teaching you whenever he has an opportunity to teach, even if it's the past, if the incident's over, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Not to punish.
No.
Not to punish.
No.
Right? And policing, you know how policing is. Policing things discipline in one way, punishment.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
the reality is discipline is about developing your people.
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
Yes.
It's about coaching, mentoring, training. And yes, if it gets to a point where they're not getting it, or they don't give a shit, or they just shouldn't be caught, there's some good people in policing who probably shouldn't be in it.
Well, yeah.
And there's also a small percentage of bad people that we need to get rid of.
Yeah.
All right. So my point is sometimes you got to punish, but you don't just go straight to punishment.
No.
Right.
No.
And the other thing is I want to touch on is all leaders. You don't have to have rank. Some of the best leaders I've ever seen in police.
I was just going to say.
It's in Ayman's article. I was just reading it.
Yeah.
Read it to us, Ayman.
No, you go ahead, P. You have it up right there.
So a leader leads, a boss supervisors. That's where I'm at, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Let's think about this for a second. Hold on. Let me put it up on the screen here too. We could figure out how to do that. So I'm right here. A leader leads, a boss supervises. Let's think about that for a second. In the Army, we have a saying, lead from the front, a phrase used a lot by officers and non-commissioned officers alike. A leader works with their team until the mission is done. A leader is first to arrive. A leader spends time getting to know their people, cleans up with their team. A leader acknowledges the success of the team and not themselves.
Yeah.
Which is huge.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? A good leader, a selfless leader, which is what a good leader is. He gives credit to his guys even if he did it, he gives credit to his people.
Yeah, well,
and
look,
when his people are in the shit, he takes the heat, right?
Yeah.
That's what a good leader does.
Ayman continues. He says a boss sits back and gives the people work to do. A boss supervises and micromanages. A boss takes credit for the work that their team has done, right? Not giving credit.
Yep.
A boss scolds in public and hardly ever praises. A boss works for their team to the point of exhaustion. A boss does not know their team very well.
Nope.
Are you a boss or a leader?
Yep. That's
a great point, Ayman. You nailed it, brother.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, that's the biggest thing I've seen. You know, you've been in policing a lot longer than me, but it's things that I've seen from the military on through my career as a cop right now. Various leaders that have come through. I mean, you know. We have some spectacular police leaders, but they're very small.
Yeah.
They're very small, you know,
Yeah.
and that's unfortunate to me.
Our system doesn't help them either.
No, it doesn't.
The system, the way it's set up, the way we read a couple of books, take a test, none of it really is set up to pick out a good leader. You know what I'm saying? It's usually based on score, or even now with assessment centers, there's still flaws in that system.
Yeah.
You know, it's a terrible policing. And I don't know how else to say it. It's a terrible system we have for promotions and leadership.
Well, that's the thing. We call it for what it is. It is. I mean,
I just went through it.
How is a leader who takes a test about police theory and some other bullshit on there, how is that going to translate to how this police officer or this police supervisor now is going to be at the police department? What is, you know, how those aren't, you're not learning leadership traits. You're learning boss traits to me when you go into these classes to learn and to study and all that. You're learning how to be a boss, you know, where you got to put the hammer down every time. You know, your officer sneezes wrong, you got to write him up. Yeah. You know,
I wrote an article several years ago. I just posted it again today because I was thinking what we're doing today. It was called "Discipline: The Lost Art of Leadership in Policing," and it's because of just what you said. Is I went to a class, and I talk about this article in '96 when I became a sergeant. I went to a class, and they had a thing on progressive discipline. The whole mantra, right, for this guy's class was, if the guy shows up late, croak him.
Seriously?
If he's supposed to, oh no, I'm dead serious. I wrote all about it in this article. It's up on my Facebook. You can read it later. But if they show up late, croak them. If they don't do what their assignment was, and they don't get you the number of tickets they want, croak them. Whatever it was, listen. It went on for a day and a half with this guy, 2 days. And I'm like, I said to myself as a young new sergeant, I went, where is this shit coming from? No wonder why everybody's always yelling at everybody in police work.
Yeah, exactly.
No wonder why everybody's getting rid of. No wonder. And in those days, I was like, how come nobody ever goes upstairs and talks to the guys that used to be cops who are now lieutenants and chiefs, right? There was none of that went on. There was like this bridge. There was this gap between upstairs and down.
There's a big disconnect.
Yeah, huge.
Yeah,
disconnect.
it's a huge disconnect. Yeah. It was almost like you're in the same department, but your leaders were looked at by the patrol as if they were like everybody was afraid of them, right? And then the upstairs looked at the guys downstairs like, we can't trust these guys. They're cops with guns and badges.
Right.
You can't trust them.
On the same team.
Yeah. That's the thing. When I see these new officers, they tell me that. They tell me how they don't want to go out there to do the job because they don't know, you know, they'll get yelled at or they get this or you know, other examples I have is like, you know, they're in the middle of a foot chase. They catch the guy and the lieutenant's on the air asking them to call him. Like, dude, let them do their thing. Why do you need a phone call right away? They're wrestling with the guy.
Right. Let him do it.
Well, that tells me that he wasn't listening in the fucking first place.
Like, dude, chill out. Like, no, you know, it's going to happen. You know what I mean? Like,
you know,
it's unreal.
The core competencies we got to develop in street cops, it comes from that feeling of safety that Cynic talked about that we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that, I don't mean that in the what's the word I'm looking for? The sissy sense of the game.
Right.
A cop's got right? A cop's got to know he's safe in his house.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean he gets away with corruption. No. He knows that everything that's done is fair.
Yeah.
Fair and impartial. It's done. If you screwed up, your boss comes right to you and tells you screwed up.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
If you did good, right. If he did good, he tells you did good.
Yep.
So if we start to treat guys like that and develop the core competencies that cops need, like their ability to make sense of shit going on. How am I supposed to make sense of what's going on when I'm worried about getting my ass chewed before I even put my foot on the gas pedal to go to the call?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
How am I supposed to be focused on framing and solving the problem?
Well,
right?
Again,
Whatever
like I said, that's how officers get killed. They're too worried about what's going on in their house, where they miss certain things that certain indicators that the bad guy gave them, and now they're shot and killed. You know, because they're too busy worried about what's going on in their house.
You got it, and that's sadly. I've been around almost 40 years, and sadly, talking to cops of all ranks, they'll tell you the number one place that they feel stress comes from is internal.
Internal.
Oh yeah, internal, 100%.
By far.
Yeah.
I can't think of a guy that I've ever talked to who told me it came from outside. Although they know they get stress from outside, but they say the number one is internal stress.
It's amazing. You could deal with gangs, violent people, whatever, stress on the outside. It's that inner stress that kills cops.
Of course.
So, right. So how? And not only that, the bosses want you to do the job. They want you to take initiative. So loosen the reins. Teach them what to do. Don't be such a, pardon my French, prick. Right? Right.
That's not the worst word that we've had on this show. Just so you know.
Let them do their jobs.
Yeah.
Right.
Some of these guys know more about what they're doing than the boss is doing. They got a good boss recognizes that. He knows, hey, this guy knows more about constitutional law than I do. Let's ask him.
Well,
what do you think about this search? Get a search warrant?
Yeah. We always talk, me and Pete talk about, why can't certain leaders or whatever just go down the rank to the lowest ranking patrol officer who, I give him an example where we have a lot of combat veterans that have come back, solid guys, some guys with so much tactical experience and expertise within your ranks as brand new officers. Why aren't the leaders going to them saying, hey, listen, I know you've been there, done that. What do you think of this type of training or this type of tactic or this type of thing? Get an opinion. They will be more than happy.
Ego
is the enemy, baby.
Exactly.
Ego's the enemy.
Exactly.
And there's no shame in it. That's a good leader knows he doesn't know everything. A good leader knows that guy knows more.
Yeah.
Use it. That's what a good leader does.
Well, that's the point, right?
Resources are.
You're using your resources. Exactly.
That's it.
Exactly.
You're doing it, and that makes sense. Now, and then you know what builds from that? Trust. Mutual trust builds from it. Because the guy goes, wow.
That's a hard word.
The sergeant came to me and said, hey, what do you think? And it builds confidence. It builds all these things in guys. And when you get trust, you get the feeling of safety. Even in unsafe climate, when you get distrust, you got guys who are fearful, even when they don't need to be.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's something we have to recognize. And there's so much written on it, it's out of control.
Yeah.
And it's not only written on, military units have used it for years. Right? They've used this and understand this for years. The Marine Corps' principles, which I was in the Marine Corps, one of the number one traits, right?
Yep.
Look out, right? Get to know your people, look out for them, develop them, right? And take care of them.
Yep.
Take care of them.
Yeah.
The police take care of them. What do you mean take care of them?
Why would we take care of the peons?
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
right.
It makes no sense. It boggles the mind because it's not rocket science here. It's human relations. That's what leadership's about.
And that's the disconnect, though, right there, Fred. It's that disconnect is human relation. They forgot about it.
Yeah.
They don't have it in them. And a good leader has that, knows his people well, knows what he has at his disposal or her disposal, and is able to develop them into solid future leaders of their police department.
You know what else it is? That it's all that, but you know what it is? Really, the biggest piece of it is they're fearful themselves.
Yeah. And
here's what I mean: they're fearful of liability because you think about it. Police departments are so risk averse, CYA oriented. It's almost. I'm going to say it because I think it's worthy to say. it's almost we've become ineffective at helping communities.
Oh,
We're
yes.
so afraid.
Oh, yeah.
We're so afraid.
Yes.
So what happens is the guy gets a leadership position. He realizes, hey, I'm no longer on my own. I'm responsible for these other guys.
Yes.
And I don't want to get these shit from upstairs either. So it works. And upstairs is getting stuff from upstairs. They get it from City Hall, Town Hall.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So everybody's in a fear cycle, in a fear loop, right? It's constant.
Yep.
Instead of people taking a stand, sometimes leaders have to take a stand. They got to fall on the sword. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
You got to do it. And if we don't risk it, look at what's happened to the profession.
Yeah.
Right? All this stuff going on the last year, and I know we're getting to the end here, but all this stuff going on to the last year, and we've had, what, a handful of leaders speak up?
Yeah. Maybe.
Police leaders.
Yeah, and the rest went into a closet.
Yeah.
I just read an article where they talked about a local paper, was going around trying to get police departments to talk about the current climate. No bosses wanted to talk, right? So they got a couple to talk. And don't get me wrong, I admire the guys that speak by far. I admire them. But the guys that don't speak, I kind of understand where they're coming from. But you're police, you're cops,
you got to
you're
talk.
Police leaders. You got to speak up in favor of what you guys do.
You took the responsibility as a leader.
Yeah,
like that's what leaders have to do.
Sometimes you're going to have to. I've always said this throughout my career. You know what? When things will go good in the police department, you don't need me. You didn't need the lieutenant. You didn't need the deputy or the chief.
Here's the thing, though. It runs itself.
Hey, when things go bad.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it runs itself. When things go bad, I'm sorry if I'm yelling because I get passionate.
No, yell. We like the anger.
We like it.
When things go bad, we need you.
Yeah.
Don't hide when we need you.
Yeah.
We need the guys to stand up, and there's been some that have, and I'm proud as shit of them, and I've said it out open forum, Facebook. But we need every single boss from every single town, right, throughout this country, speaking up about what's going on in this country.
Yeah,
this one, you've heard it yourself over the years. It'll blow over. Just keep quiet. It'll blow over.
No, it's not.
This ain't blowing over. This ain't blowing
not
over.
With modern technology and stuff.
Like any bad strategy, you might get away with it for a while.
So
you ain't getting away with it now.
I think Ayman has a quote he wants to get out.
Oh, yeah, no,
yeah.
So yeah, you know the quote I like. So talking about this leadership and everything, and to kind of sum up everything we've just talked about is, especially with the training and leadership training and stuff, is just checking the box has failed this profession and society. I mean, that's powerful right there.
Very powerful.
And very powerful.
And I like this quote because not only does it put on the profession, but also on society. It's failed both.
Yeah, it has.
It's
checking the box.
Oh yeah.
It's cover your ass.
Yeah, that's all it is.
CYA. Absolutely.
It doesn't do anything for the society. It doesn't do anything for the community that you swore to protect and serve. It doesn't do anything like that.
So
we got to take risks.
The moral of the story
be risk
is
savvy.
Oh yeah.
And not to sound sexist, but people and leaders, including patrolmen, not just leaders, need to man the fuck up.
Yeah.
Yeah. There has to be some courage in this business.
Yeah.
Yes.
There has to be strength of character.
Yes.
And look, our profession is in pain because of the lack of people taking stands.
It's imploding.
It's imploding, and we need good, sound leaders to speak up and talk truth, as hard as it is.
Right,
absolutely.
As difficult as it is, because you're right. The check the box thing, it creates the lack of adaptability. I follow the rules, but maybe you should have done this, right? Well, but that ain't what it says, right?
Well, you're not adapting.
What happens?
Yeah, that's the thing with the military: adapt and overcome. Right? That's all we talk about. Adapt and overcome.
Yep.
It's
a good leader gets it, man. A good leader gets it and understands it and teaches it.
Yep.
The micromanaging boss, for lack of a better word, or the guy who's just pure management. And don't get me wrong, there's some great management guys that are good leaders too. Don't get me wrong. I've known some.
Yep.
They can do both. And it doesn't do any good to be a good leader if you can't do some of the admin shit you got to do either. You know what I'm saying? So we got to balance that out.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about the livelihood of the profession and in the street level decision making that takes place, you've got to develop relationships, man.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. And they got to be good ones.
Yes.
And don't talk to me about. Don't tell me that mission's number one, because if mission was truly number one, you develop your people to trust in their professionalism to the point that,
Yep.
the mission will be
100%.
completed.
100%.
Whether you're there or not, it'll be completed.
You're 100% right.
So,
So, Fred, listen, we're going to
geez,
we
Christ,
can't.
I'm going to need a second drink.
Hey, I think we got your blood pressure high enough, Fred, for tonight.
Well, guys, listen,
Hey,
Fred,
you know what it is?
it's been an amazing show. Thank you
Hey,
so
guys,
much.
Thanks for having me on. I love you. Love the profession. Love what you guys are doing.
Yeah, man.
This topic just fires me up.
Yeah, we can tell.
Yeah.
But I love it. People have to speak out. But everybody, thank you for listening. Thank you to our supporters, Gym Junkies, Live Boston, Vector Shields, Wellness for Warriors, Havok Journal. Thank you guys for listening. Ayman, say bye.
See ya.